everybody, I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker. Welcome to Witchy Wisdom Wednesday. Sorry that we had a couple of weeks missed. I was ill, and I didn't think you wanted me hacking and sneezing at you on the computer. Now, I am so excited to have a guest tonight that a lot of people have asked for. I asked for her myself because I really love her channel. She has a hella sexy voice. She's super creative. And you all know her as Molly from HerSpeak. Hi, Molly.
Hello, Arwen. Thank you for having me in your cyber house. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. And so is Cliff, who's going to join us tonight.
Well, he is a little opinionated tonight, so that's okay.
Extremely opinionated. Come on. All right.
I'm a cat person, so I'll blame me.
He can tell. He knows there's pets on the other side of the screen and he wants them. Yeah.
So I have a list of questions for you.
Okay.
And the first thing is, what's the very first thing you can remember about witches in general? Not necessarily real witches, just witch on any level.
Witch on any level. Let's see. I've always been really, really interested in magic, generally. And my mom got me into Arthurian legend when I was very young. So I remember the Lady of the Lake character being, hi buddy, being a really, really interesting character for me and associating her as being a sorceress and a witch. I also distinctly remember Angelica Houston in The Witches, that scary, scary Roald Dahl movie, but I thought she was so badass. But that's one of my early witch memories. Yeah.
Cool. And point to you for knowing that's a Roald Dahl movie.
Yeah,
so many people don't. We just watched the BFG, which I thought they did a marvelous job.
Yes. Yes.
So, and he's very, if y'all have not, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Witches, BFG, and there's one other, I think, and the Peach.
James and the Giant Peach.
James and the Giant Peach.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's really quirky, different.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with him, read his books. They're kids' books. They're easy to read.
Yeah, they're still twisted, which is important.
Right. If you have small children, now's the time to warp them.
Get them ready for the weirdness to come. Yes. Yeah.
Me, I was cut my teeth on Ruth Chu books. And she did Half Magic and Alley Magic and all sorts of magic books. They were always about kids who find an enchanted object. They're fun.
Okay.
So what brought you to the craft? How did you get here?
It's a very long, convoluted story. I was talking about this in a Q&A recently, so I'm going to try to see if I can distill and get to the important parts. As I was saying before, I had a mom that fed me a lot of mythology as a kid, and that really informed my worldview. I also grew up, I wouldn't call it the suburbs. It was actually pretty rural where I grew up. So I spent a lot of time in the woods, and there weren't a ton of kids, but we would play and make forts and try to talk to animals and make potions and do things outside. So there was always that kind of undercurrent in my life. But, and I was always interested in magic sort of as a hobby, but it wasn't really until I'd have to say I was late in high school, and then not seriously until I was probably a freshman in college, going for my painting degree, and I was really interested in women's literature and women's studies, and all of these things really coalesced, and suddenly goddess spirituality became a real feasible option. Like, this was something you could do. This was a way you could live. And I think that's probably when I really started identifying as a witch. I was doing magic previous to that. I had a lot of pantheistic ideas and ideas about animism before that, but didn't really start identifying as a practitioner, I think, until that point.
Very cool. Now, you talked about a painting degree.
Yes.
Funnily, I don't know if that's quite a word, but funny enough, where I came into my strongest feminism and my own witchy self was in a town where the university specialized. They had a special women's studies program there.
Okay.
And it's a little bit, it's in Ohio. It's not a very, it's called Bowling Green. It's not a big school. But
Oh, right. Okay.
so, but you talked about painting, and you have, one or two, maybe three even crafty things in your life, right?
That's true. I used to be really upset about not being able to pin down, like I'm a figure painter or I am a singer or I am any of these things, and have just decided that it's all part of the same pool and there's a season for everything. It used to really bother me that I couldn't, I felt like it was an unfocused way to be, or I wasn't committed to my craft if I was interested in lots of things. But I feel like it's just such a large part of who I am. But yeah, I paint, I write, I sing in a band. Those are the major projects right now. Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that you're forgetting that you do exceptionally well. You inspire other people. You have the Art Witch book out, which I know people are just loving. It came out, what, like a month or two, maybe?
I launched it in the beginning of December, so it's been out for just a little bit, and the work that people have been sending me as a result of using the book has been incredible. It's really amazing. So
it's a gift you give. You have really given an amazing gift to people, because
thank you.
I tweeted about it when I saw it. It's like, y'all need to go do this. I don't consider myself very artsy.
I don't know about that.
Well, I do Zentangle, and Zentangle and I
amazing
really click. So
that's a great technique.
I love it. And I'm doing it makes my mind go away. So that's a good thing.
Right.
Now, behind you, is any of that your artwork behind you?
This here, I'll see if I can move it a little bit. This is a velvet tiger painting that my hubby bought me.
I love it.
And I'm currently living in a rented flat, and we decided to fix it up a little bit. So I decided to paint, I got a little antsy one day and decided to paint these red poppies on my dining room wall. But that's what we're looking at right now. Normally we're hanging out in my studio, but this time of day where I am right now, it is dark, dark, dark. So we're hanging out in my dining room right now where I can get some light for you. So
I'm hearing you say poppies. Poppies.
Poppies. Yeah.
Great. Everybody stay out of Molly's dining room. Now, I think I know the answer to this, and I think most people know the answer to this. We're guessing. But what is your favorite form of divination?
My favorite form of divination. I have a couple, and I find that it depends on the time of the year for me, and I don't know if it's like that for anybody else. I'd be interested to know. Usually when I'm in my kind of dark part of the year and I'm doing a lot of internal work and a lot of reflection, I love tarot as a tool. I still consider myself to be a beginner to intermediate. Hold on, we're gonna give Cliff a snack so he chills out real quick. Okay.
So while Cliff gets a snack, for those of you that are watching this, this was taped, but I'd love it if you'd leave comments and questions. Molly's always doing questions and answers, and
he is being a diva. All right. But so I'll use tarot during that part of the year because I use it as part of a journaling process as well. But I really do love lithomancy. I like that because I feel like it's a system that you can really design for yourself. And I've kind of grown into that in the past year, really developing my own system that way. And then I also I live in a pretty dense urban area. So in the spring and summertime, I like to do what I call trash oracle, where I will walk around the city and either look for stencils or graffiti or bizarro bits of trash and refuse and put stories together. I find a lot of synchronicity in trash. So those are probably my three favorite. Yeah. I also do a bookstore bibliomancy too. That's also fun. But
I was just going to say, I do bibliomancy. I also do, I don't know what the right word for it is. I call it radiomancy, and that's not correct.
Yes. Oh, what is that called?
But
Clarion.
Yeah, you clear something, but you ask a question,
Oh.
then you turn your radio on, and the first 3 songs are your
Yes.
answer.
Yes. Yes. That's a fun one. There have been
Now,
many a time. Many a
have you
time
seen
where
this yet?
I'm having
Botanical Inspirations?
no.
Victorian, well, not Victorian. The artwork is by a guy who painted for Marie Antoinette and Empress Josephine.
Oh, okay.
And the book is by Lynn over at US Games. This is an amazing, if you like just
Ooh.
fun floral oracle,
Colorful. Yeah. Go
this
for
one is
it.
amazing. Yeah,
That
the
looks like
artwork is
fun.
beautiful.
Excellent.
Well, that's now. What's your favorite tarot deck? Do you have a favorite, or are you like me and a serial lover of tarot?
Truthfully, I'm a bit of a nerd where for a long time I was interested in learning tarot, but could not buckle down. People would talk about bonding with their decks, and it just never happened for me. I couldn't find it. And because I couldn't bond with a deck, I just decided I sucked at tarot. And it just wasn't something that I was going to pursue. And came back to it a couple years later and decided I was only going to work with one deck at a time, because I felt like I got overwhelmed with the collecting of it, which is part of the joy, of tarot. It really is. But I felt like I was more into the collecting and scrutinizing if I liked all the cards versus how much time am I really pouring into studying.
Yeah.
So I gifted all of my decks away to friends who are interested in learning. And most of them were gifts, or I bought them at secondhand stores. And when I saw the Tarot Illuminati come out, it's an Eric C. Dune deck.
Yeah.
I picked that one up, and that is my only tarot deck. Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting Eric last year at the Northwest Tarot Symposium.
Okay.
He's fabulous. He really is. He's very elegant and fun.
I would think there would be some sort of drama to him I see that in his work. Maybe that's in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so. And actually, I should ask him. I don't know if I've ever reached out to him and to do a interview with, because he's got a couple of decks out. And I'd love to chat with him about it.
I would love to see that interview. I would love to see that.
Yeah. Well, now let's see. Have you ever done a working, any kind of spell, any mojo work, anything like that backfired, or what you felt like backfired from what you actually wanted?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, let's see. Well, first off, I don't know if I'm the kind of person, I know there's a lot of talk out there about how, when we're doing workings, we need to be really, really specific about what we want, because if we're not, the universe is a real jerk and it's going to jam something in there you didn't intend, and that might happen. And I don't know if it works like that. So I don't know. Truthfully, I've had workings that totally fall flat and don't do anything. Which I feel like is almost even more disappointing than having, some catastrophe story to tell somebody, like, my magic is real and it was horrible, versus it just didn't work and I'm still out on my ass and feeling bad about the situation. I've definitely had spells work much faster and more intensely than I anticipated, but I don't know if I've ever really had anything blow up in my face that way. One of them being, I actually talk about it, it's the introduction to Art Witch, my first adventure in sigil making, which wasn't what I understood to be a sigil, which is the standard, you write out what you want and you cross out the vowels and all that stuff. You guys know that. It was a series of really large scale paintings that I was making for my first exhibition outside of school, that I had this really intense time crunch to finish. And I had a lot of stuff that I was working through at that time, and pushed everything I had into these images that I wanted to be really different. I was angry about where I was creatively, where I was at my job, what was going on in my life, difficulties with my partner, where I was living, all of these things, and imagined this totally new life for myself through this series of paintings. And I hadn't even finished them yet before things started to happen. And it only continued to grow after I completed them and then started showing them to the public and sharing them. And it continued exponentially to grow. And then here we are. And now I'm talking to the lovely Arwen about witchcraft on YouTube. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah. I haven't heard that one about being really specific in spells. That kind of makes it sound like the universe is Congress and going to tack on
Right.
things.
It's out to get you. There's this sort of paranoia about that
Yeah,
recommendation that I can't get behind. I don't. In my world, I don't believe it works like that. There's not room for that in my. Yeah.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, I'm more of, if you're doing a love spell, be clear on the articles that you want in a person, but not the person.
Right.
Having done a love spell to attract a particular person, and that was one of my more spectacular backfires because it worked, but then I couldn't get rid of them.
Right. There is that.
I have a dear friend, Corky, if you're watching this, I'm telling this on you, did a spell on herself at full moon to quit smoking.
These are interesting.
Smoking, right?
Okay.
So she asked the god and goddess and did her work. Was driving over a railroad track like within a week, and her car bumped, and she said she felt a sharp pain, and she thought, wow, I wonder what that was.
Interesting.
Her lung collapsed.
You're joking. That's crazy. Okay.
Guess what she couldn't do anymore?
Yeah, well, it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, be careful what you ask for.
Be careful what you ask for. Yes, that is true. I do believe you should be sure about what you are asking for, but I don't think it's this bizarro, like, we live in some kind of Steve Sondheim universe where the world is conspiring to teach you a lesson.
No,
I don't think that's part of the word. No.
My universe is happy and joyful, and wants to be happy and joyful. It's not going, ooh, let's tack on an anti-abortion spell.
Yeah, there's actually a word, and I'm blanking. Of course, I would blank on it right now while I'm talking to you. But paranoia is the idea that everybody's conspiring against you. But there is a word for believing that the universe is conspiring in your favor.
That's Rob Bresney, pronoia.
Yes, there we go. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, we live in a pronoic.
Right. I love Rob Bresney. He's one of my favorites. Now, the next question may be a little tricky because this is the Southwest. I don't know where you live, but this is a Southwest question.
Yes.
Red sauce or green sauce?
Oh, green. Yeah.
Yay. She knows the answer.
We honeymooned in New Mexico, and we ate all of the of the green chili we possibly could. So, yes.
That's where I live.
Okay.
I live in New Mexico.
Yeah. A little bit of both if you can get it. Restaurants here, they do it where you can get a little bit of both, and depends on the restaurant, but green.
Right, go in and say, I just want it Christmas.
Christmas, I loved that. I thought that was so fun. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Now, I did have somebody say no sauce at all, and I don't know if I can trust them.
I don't think we can be friends.
Is there an afterlife in your belief system?
Okay. Is there an afterlife in my belief system? Well, first, I'll preface that with saying I'm open to the sea of possibility. But in my world as it stands right now, until new information comes to light, I do believe that we have a life after this one, but not in an alternate plane of existence. I don't think I'm going to be a person or this soul again. We live on this incredible composted rock where I am parts of people who have passed, and I will become parts of people in the future. And I believe that that is a second life. For some people, that might be a little too on the metaphorical or symbolic side, but I do believe we have another life after this, but not in this way. Yeah.
I love that. That's a new concept for me, and I really, I can find resonation in that for me. I like it.
Yeah. So.
Well, awesome. Oh, deserted island time. I always called it desert island.
Oh.
Deserted island time. You have time to grab. This is my deserted island, so you're just going to dumped on it poof out of nowhere.
Okay. Ooh.
You have time to grab 5 magical tools.
5 magical tools.
What do you grab?
Let's see. My grimoire. For sure, because that is not for me just a record keeping device, but it is an active, continuous working all of the time. It's a record of what I'm doing, but also what I plan to do in the future, or how I'm working things out, drawing drawing spells that I continue to add to as artworks. So the grimoire for sure.
Awesome.
Some kind of, well, I don't know, maybe, oh, that's tough because I was going to say like a pen, but if I bring matches, then I could make a stick into some kind of drawing tool.
You can go with your grimoire. I'm a writer,
Okay.
so pen and paper are one.
They're a combined tool. Tool.
I'll save you on that one.
In this scenario, I love candle magic. That was my first love. The first spells I ever created were candle magic workings, and I still do them every new and full moon. That's just part of my groove. I love them. Let's see what else. I have a big, beautiful piece of rose quartz that goes with me everywhere. I love it. I would probably bring that with me as well. Magical tools. I'm not really a wand or an athame person. So I do have a cup that has become the chalice on my altar. It's what I leave my offerings for Goddess in. But at one time, I had purchased as a kid at a flea market to be my holy grail when we would play King Arthur. And so that has been with me all through childhood and is on my altar as well. So I think we're at 4. Oh dear. 5. It's funny because I love to build altars, but I actually don't use a lot of stuff in my actual casting. I don't use a lot of stuff. I do have, there's a book that my mom gave me when it was probably my first like real magic book. And I think it's called like Magic of Merlin or something like that. And it's got beautiful illustrations in it, but it legit had spells in it, which surprised me as a kid. I was expecting it to be like a storybook. But that just as a personal memento, I think that would come with me. Yeah.
Very nice. I like it. Now let's see. Oh, now this is a kitchen altar question.
Oh, great. Okay.
So what are just like 3 must-have herbs that are kitchen herbs that you got to have in the kitchen, and also that you got to have in the altar room?
Oh, okay. So combo, double duty. I like that. I use cloves in pretty much everything. They make it into most of my incenses. They make it into my oils. I also like to buy perfume. When I splurge on that, I like anything with a clove, low note in it. I love that. And I love to bake. So clove makes it in. We live in a very drafty Victorian house right now that we're renting. And we bake a lot in the wintertime, not just to snack, but to keep it toasty in the house. So clove in the kitchen. Coffee. I love to use coffee in, I'm a coffee drinker, but I use it in oils and I use it in incenses. I use it to create inks to draw with, so that's a double duty.
Yeah.
And that's relatively new. I haven't done that forever, but in the last couple of years, it's a good way I find to, especially if like dragon's blood or something like that isn't available to you, is kind of like a whoop ass, like get it done. Sure. Substitute. I like to use coffee for that. And what would be the last one? Basil, probably. Basil is such like a nice roundabout. Use it. Money drawing, protection, joy, beauty, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so probably that way.
Awesome. Good choices.
Yeah.
Now, powdered or rolled? Incense, that is.
Okay. Oh. Truthfully, I use both equally. If I'm doing a working, I create my own incense. But I do give offerings at my altar every morning. It's part of my routine. And for that, I will use stick incense for that, that I buy specifically for each purpose that I light it for. But I think it depends on the situation. Is that a cheater answer? Does it?
No, not at all.
I think they have different purposes. Yeah, different purposes in different places, but I use them both. And then also just for leisure, there's always incense going in the house. We like to burn incense here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you intentionally honor, and you kind of touched on this, or care for your deity?
This is growing and changing all of the time, I think. Right now, as it stands, I do offering every morning, which consists of something really, really simple. I have some blessed water that I make during the new moon, and during the full moon, and I keep in a candy dish of my grandma's that stays on my altar, and I'll anoint myself and say my prayers for a day, something that I've written, and I will light incense and tend to any workings that I have going. I like to feed them every day if that's what it requires, but that couple of minutes every morning for sure. And then in the evening, at least a couple of times a week, I just use that space to meditate. I will go to that shrine space to meditate. I'll also incorporate acts of service, which I try to plan around the full moon that has a connection or a connotation with my goddess. I'll do that. And then during my new moon, she's there, definitely, but I spend more of my time with my deity on the full moon, for sure.
Very nice, very nice. And I love that you do an act of service. I think that a lot of us get caught up in, how can we do, what can we show, how can we be a child of whatever deity we're following. And when I followed a certain deity, I should have and didn't, but should have done service at dog shelters, because that's what for animals.
Right.
So that's a very interesting thing, and it's an eye-opener for me, because I often do more lip service than actual sweat equity, and I think
no, part of that prayer that I talk about, that I do in the morning, part of it is, asking that, may the goddess of 1,000 faces be alive in me, and may I be her living temple, and that her, that her works be done through me, and that I see her in other people. And I think that didn't always used to be that way. I really thought that I was just supposed to, I'm lighting the candles and nothing is happening. I'm not building this relationship. It's not happening. But through volunteer work or caring for specific places, that's really, I think, done more to strengthen my relationship with just capital D deity in general. Not that there's anything wrong with the petitions or the lighting of candles or anything like that, not saying that, but it just wasn't enough for me to really make that heart connection and feel like I was part of anything bigger than what I was doing at my altar. So
I like that a lot. And it's in the way I was trained in Wicca, it's a sign of a certain degree. You priestess yourself, you priestess others, you priestess as a whole.
Okay.
And so it's a big piece of those trainings. So that's very, I think I needed that reminder. Now, what does Miss Molly do for her own self-care?
Oh, my self-care? I need alone time outside. Definitely. Where I live, it's difficult, as I mentioned, live in very close quarters in an urban space, but still finding time to get outside and be alone. Alone time is so big. And other parts of my self-care include just making work for myself that I just keep to myself.
Very nice.
Just studio days, nothing super fancy. I'm not a big bubble bath person. I mean, who doesn't love a nice bath? But if I'm feeling depleted, that's not my first go-to answer. It's usually, what are you wanting to work on that you haven't been working on and you feel like is dragging you down? So there'll be that. One of my big self-care things is taking myself on dates to the library.
That's awesome.
And I don't go there for anything specific. I just walk around and see what pops out. And usually something interesting happens.
I love it.
But that's one of my favorite dates to take myself on, is to go to the library.
Do you prefer fiction or nonfiction, or do you read both?
I usually have at least one of each going at a time. I read a lot of nonfiction for my personal studies. I like to read history and anthropology, and obviously I love to read about the occult and figures in history who have been involved in the occult. But for my creative juices and songwriting, things like that, I need the fiction. I need the fiction, yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm listening. I've read the series. Now I'm listening to the audiobooks. It's a alternative historical fiction.
Ooh, okay.
And it's got dragons in it, which I'm a fantasy lover. So, and actually, it's being used as a prop. But if you like that sort of thing,
yes.
Look up Her Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik, Novik.
Okay.
Very, very fun, and it's historically accurate.
Interesting.
So it's the Napoleonic. Oh, that's a wonderful word, Arwen. What the hell does it mean? The Napoleon Wars. I can't say the word for some reason. It's set in that time period, and that war is happening. Okay. Napoleon, England and France, and there are dragons on both sides as part of the fighting forces.
Okay.
It's a brilliantly fanciful
idea
and she just ran with it. She wrote 9 books in the series. So
that's like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Like that. And I loved that. I thought that was so wild. It was really, really fun.
Right. And it's not as fun. See, I thought Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter had a lot of
it was absurd. Yeah, really absurd and fun.
This one doesn't have as much of that kind of humor in it. It's kind of, at times, kind of dark. It deals with the idea of slavery, and it's got a lot of social issues going on.
I like that, though. I like the complex narrative. Yes.
Okay, so name something that always brings you joy. You knew there had to be a joy question.
Oh, yeah, joy question. Oh, there are certain records that always bring me joy. I have 2 fluff monsters that you've been listening to scream in the background. They are an endless source of happiness. They drive me crazy and make me laugh. Endless sources of joy. Oh, I can think of so many. It's actually really overwhelming to try to articulate just 1 or 2 of them. I have an incredible partner. And yeah, he rocks my world. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting into some really hardcore, deep questions. So you need to really.
I'm ready.
I want you to really soul dive on this.
All right.
Favorite meal.
Favorite meal. Ooh. Let's see. We have. I come from a Polish family, and pierogies.
Oh.
Pierogies and stuffed cabbage with the mashed potato and the sauce on the top. It's just awesome.
Oh,
carbs.
Right. I used to live in Toledo and also in Lansing, Michigan. So Toledo, Ohio. And
Lansing. Yep. You're in the zone for
Lansing, Michigan. In the next 3 weeks. All I can think about is punchki. Is that the right word? The donuts with the thumbprint that they fill with
I've heard it pronounced a couple ways. I've heard the punchki, but I've also heard it called the a patchki. Yeah, with the CZ. Yeah, patchki. Yeah, they're big right now. All of the small mom and pop grocery stores and bakeries here sell them for Fat Tuesday. Yeah, it's a big push to get them for Lent. So yeah,
and I'm a Louisiana girl, so we're actually a friend of mine came up to me and they said, "You're from Louisiana, right?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "What day is Mardi Gras this year?" And I told them. They said, "No, what day of the week?"
Well,
this year Fat Tuesday will be on Wednesday, but don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. That's adorable.
I still laugh about that because
I like that.
I thought it was a trick question for a minute, And I'm a stickler because I'm from Louisiana. Like somebody said, well, they've got king cake still at the grocery store around here, and I'm like,
it's long gone. Yeah.
Get that out of here. That's wrong.
Yeah.
So, and Lent, Lent's a big thing at home. My sister just, my birthday's tomorrow. She texted me and said, what do you want for your birthday? Oh, thank you. She said, what do you want for your birthday? I gave up Amazon for Lent. I've handicapped myself.
That's a tough one, though. Like, way to go for go big or go home when you give something. Yeah.
Oh, she gave up pleasure reading once, which is in our family. We grew up with when you were old enough to hold a book, we were reading. So that was a big one for her, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I told her I gave up Lent for Lent one year, and
I gave up being miserable for Lent a long time ago.
Let's see. Okay, favorite meal. Here now, a ghost story time. Do you have a either scary, fun? Do you have a ghost story to tell?
A ghost story. I don't know. I weirdly have had dreams about a majority of my relatives the night that they passed, or slightly before, which is bizarre because I don't even know if I believe that. But I don't know if I have, a door slamming or something like that, or seeing anything. The first very, very close friend I had as a child, it was my grandpa's, his wife had passed about 25 years prior. And the woman he loved was very close to the family. And we had a very special relationship. And when she passed, that was the first death I'd ever really experienced. I think I was 8. And understood that she was dying, not somebody died and now we're at a funeral. It's like we were there with her. And so I remember that experience, but kind of our thing together, we would give each other butterfly imagery, and I would draw for her. And I remember she had some of my drawings pinned up in her casket, and we had little pins and things. So I had this really tight association. And I remember after we were leaving the cemetery, and it was about that time of year when all of the monarchs are starting to make their move and begin to migrate, and seeing that, I think that's the closest thing I have to a ghost story, because I was just totally overwhelmed as a kid with this, you know what, you're okay and I'm going to be okay. And this is the way that this is divine timing. This is the way it should be. And this is where we are now. And I will think of you often forever. And that was probably, I think that's the closest thing I have to a ghost story, really. Yeah.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
My best friend has had people in her family come visit her to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And then she would be, somebody would come wake her up and say, oh, so-and-so died.
Yeah.
And finally she was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And that's odd, because you don't know if you should, you don't want to run around telling everybody that you had this dream that somebody's going to, die.
Right?
But, yeah. But,
call somebody up and go, bye. Yeah, you don't want to be that person.
No, I'm really envious, though, of people who do. I mean, I don't know if they would say they'd be envious of somebody, but I am of people who have those sort of sensitivities or those sorts of experiences to share with people. Because if I'm being really honest with myself, I don't know if I'm conscious of one that I could share. And I think it's so interesting to hear about other people's experiences, because it's just something I haven't experienced yet.
Astrologically, are you air and fire?
I am. I'm mud. I'm Taurus, I'm a Taurus and Scorpio moon. So
I'm a Scorpio moon.
Yep. So I'm nice and muddy.
I tell people I'm a flaky, emotional bitch. Be careful.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be like an angry sofa, but I have a stinger. Yeah.
Yeah. No. My best friend is a Taurus. She's a May 6th Taurus, and we're
okay.
We're actually tarot birth card twins, which is kind of weird.
Cool.
But yeah, we both have the same triple combination.
Okay.
So here's the last question of the 13. We did 15. With
Okay.
all the extras thrown in. What is your best advice to someone who's just beginning on their own path?
Just beginning on their own path. Oh, there's so much I want to tell you. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. It's okay if everything you read isn't coalescing into something. It's okay if everything you read isn't something you want to work for you, because I know there's plenty of people who say that they are new to the craft or they're getting into the craft and they read something and says, I can't.
Yeah.
And as if that discounts them from this whole experience, from this whole life. And that's couldn't be farther from the truth. That don't worry about it all making sense right now. There is time. You have time.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. At some point, my editing skills will be so good that I can go to all the ones I do, because I asked this question, I could just chop.
Oh, that would be cool. I would love to
Everybody's
see
answers.
Yeah.
It's my favorite question, other than red sauce, green sauce. But I love asking people that, because I think almost all of us go, well, what do I want? What I have wanted to have heard when I first began.
Yeah.
And you said about tarot. I have to tell you that when I first started in Wicca, I was told at first degree I needed to have a primary divination method as part of my second degree work.
Right.
And I wanted to be a tarot reader, and I could not click with those damn cards. I thought I was a bad witch, actually, for quite some time, because I couldn't read tarot.
Right. And I think that's something too. I feel like I can relate. I went through that phase. I was like, well, I'm not as interested in tarot as apparently I'm supposed to be. If this is real, if I'm going to be a real witch. I had a desire to know more about it, but I didn't, I wasn't shooting to be a professional reader. I knew that wasn't my calling, that wasn't my talent. Like I love and enjoy tarot, and I read for myself. I don't read for other people. But I was kind of, and especially, there was a while there in the community where it's like, if you weren't a tarot prodigy, then you were just a shit witch. And I guess, that would be my second follow-up is there are so many ways, there's so many flavors, there's so many ways to be a witch. And whatever it is you are interested in, whether it's divination or not, there is a way for you to incorporate that into your spiritual life. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I always tell people, if somebody tells you any sentence that starts with something like, Molly, you're not a witch because.
Done. We're done here. Bye. Okay, bye.
Right?
Yeah.
Who died and made you the be all know all of witches? Because there's a whole bunch of different ones. If I started naming green witch, hedge witch, druid witch, witch, pagan witch, Wiccan witch.
Yeah.
We could just go on and on. So,
we want to be witches because we have a desire to be liberated. And there's nothing liberating about saying somebody is or isn't or whatever. I think that people who are worried about what other people aren't spending enough time figuring out what they are or aren't. So.
A little introspection is, yeah. Well, Molly, thank you so incredibly much. This has been way fun. I feel like I've sat down and talked with you before. It's kind of weird.
We should do it again. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, I always tell people, seek joy, y'all. What do you say to people when you say goodbye?
Witch on and witch boldly.
I like it. Bye, honey.
Thank you so much, Arwen. Bye-bye.